Hello, as I promised, here's a video on how to maintain and look after your voice whilst you're working on Zoom. This is the first of a three-part series on this, and I'll keep them short and sweet, and we're going to look at alignment this time. I think this is the starting premise for making sure that you have a relatively good Zoom experience. So the first things that I notice when people are on Zoom is that there's quite a lot of this going on. Heads coming forwards and shoulders, and we're not making most of efficient voice use, which, whilst it seems like such an obvious thing, it can so easily go when we're trying to connect with people online. So I think one of the most helpful things to do is to think of the 7 strings. So we have 2 strings on the soles of our feet, and regardless of whether we're sat down on a chair and whether our feet are on the ground or not, we can still imagine that those soles of the feet are connected to the centre of the earth with strings. The strings move, and we need to move because it's important whilst we're doing work on Zoom that we do move, or we get stuck. We are designed to move, and we need to move. So do that, move. I wiggle on my phone conversations, and I don't mind. I'm okay with that. Try a bit of wiggling. It's really good. Just move your shoulders or whatever you can. Another thing I tend to do is I just have a little stretch over as well. Even sometimes when I'm in calls, if you have the option, you feel a bit weird about it, and you have the option just to turn the video off, they can still hear you. You can do that, so you can have a jolly good stretch and a move. If you're sat, have a stand, that kind of thing. So going back to the strings, we've got the 2 on the soles of the feet. We've got 1 on the coccyx, and that's going straight down to the centre of the earth as well. And we're making sure that that pelvis isn't either sagging, it's tucked in too much, or we're sticking our bums out too much, whatever. We're just trying to keep a nice neutral pelvis. We then have a string on the middle of the upper back, and that's just going straight up. So we're just imagining that we're elongating a little bit. We then have a string on the sternum, the solar plexus, and that's going straight down to the centre of the earth, and we're just being aware of not either bringing our shoulders in and collapsing our chest, or puffing out our chest and doming it with our abdominal area. So we're just trying to keep that nice and neutral. And then finally 1 string on either elbow, and they're both going down to the centre of the earth as well, so that we can move freely. And I do, as I've said before, our heads do seem to tend to come forwards a little bit. That just puts quite a lot of pressure on these neck muscles, and it's not great for our larynx. So if we can imagine keeping our ears over our shoulders, that's a good place to be. So thinking about the strings, and you can do this anywhere, even when you're watching telly and all of that kind of thing. You get into the habit of being aware of your body, moving it, but where those strings are going as well. So 2 strings on the soles of the feet, 1 on the coccyx going straight down, 1 on the middle of the upper back, that's going straight up, so we're elongating, 1 on the sternum, solar plexus, going straight down, 1 on either elbow. Okay, and those strings can move, and we should.